The H1B guy here, and today the H1B guy live discussing the H1B Lottery Fiscal Year 2022 Special Edition. But before we get started, I'd like to ask you, if you haven't already, to please subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube and like this video so that I can continue to produce more content like this for you. I also wanted to mention the H1B Guy offers a variety of consulting services. I help businesses and individuals solve complex work authorization issues in the recruitment process while helping bring awareness to employment-based immigration benefits. If I can help you, please reach out. I'd love to hear how. Today's live stream is brought to you by RecruiterNetworks.com, the smart solution for digital perm ads since 2001. Well, it's a little after 12 p.m. Eastern on March 9th, 2021, and the H1B lottery has officially opened. It's amazing to think just how quickly these things go by, and I'll tell you that having lived them a good bit over the last 10 years, they really just, fly right by annually. But, each year, the infamous H1B lottery rolls around. Now it's March. It used to be April 1st. And again, it seems like this time of year comes and goes so quickly. For those of us who are or have been involved in processing H1B lottery petitions, the work is endless until it starts to slow down, but it really never ends. I can tell you that, if you go back to October, November of 2020, there's a lot of employers who began this process. But looking back, fiscal year 2021, the game changed completely. And for the first time ever, USCIS held an electronic filing for petitioning for a new H1B visa. And I think at the time when the announcement was made, how many petitions were going to be received or expected to be received via electronic filing, and their reasons for going into that. You look back and wow, the electronic filing is kind of reshaped how the H1B lottery works. And quite honestly, what I'll tell you is that you look back at this time last year, and I have a good friend whose birthday is today, and last year at this time was the last time a lot of my neighbors and I were indoors with, more than 24 people. Because go back to March 15th of 2020, and that's the benchmark date that we use for COVID. And I think, that again kind of coincides with the electronic filings for the H1B lottery. And, the fact is, there were 275,000 petitions that were received last year. Of course, you've heard me predict, at the end of 2020, my 7 employment-based immigration predictions for 2021. I said that USCIS would receive less than 200,000 petitions. And my justification for that was, COVID numbers were at an all-time high. Unemployment rates were still, relatively high, although technology, you're looking at, less than 3%. But it just felt like there was going to be fewer petitions received in the end of December, predicting something for March. Well, then about a week later, we had the wage-based final rule come out, and a lot of, people weighed in terms of their opinions on, that will never be a rule. It'll never happen. President-elect Biden, once he's inaugurated, is going to rescind that immediately, and we'll never see that happen. I stuck to my guns. I felt like it still could have happened for fiscal year 2022. I felt like with the electronic filing system that was in place for them to do that. But, The legal experts didn't think that, and I was kind of the vocal minority in thinking that it was still a possibility. I still stand behind and support wage-based selection. I feel like it gives the lottery a merit. But as I said, in what's the future of the H1B lottery for fiscal year 2023 and beyond, it seems like the Biden administration, while they haven't removed the wage-based selection, is most likely going to make some modifications to the lottery. And I think that we could see some sort of hybrid type approach. And what I mean by that is wage-based selection for wage level percentages, meaning there's going to be 22% designated for wage level 1, 22% designated for wage level 2, 3, 4. You kind of go down the line there, and then the highest wages paid in those wage levels are going to be who will end up being selected based on their MSA. And that's just kind of what my thoughts are as to why they haven't completely removed the wage-based selection. You saw that language included in the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021, which I think is very telling. So listen, for right now, I'm going to stick with my prediction that I think that USCIS is going to receive less than 200,000 petitions. But I think that most likely going to be wrong. I feel like that number could be higher, maybe in the 215 to 225 range. If you want me to get within about 10,000 there, things just feel different right now. And the jobs report from February 2021 was positive. You're seeing the vaccinations appear to be rolling out across the country. I know here recently in the county that we live in here, they are offering them to teachers. They're now in sort of the range for that. And so, listen, I think you're seeing it. Spring is almost here in Atlanta. I mean, I think we're talking, high 60s, low 70s here today, and potentially 80 degrees over the weekend. But it's hard to believe that a year ago was when, the news of COVID-19 and what it was doing and how quickly it was moving. Wow, it's hard to believe that was a year ago. So I don't anticipate the lottery this year reaching 275,000 or even 250,000 for that matter. But I think we'll see, as I said, if my prediction of less than 200,000 looks to be probably clearly wrong, but is it going to be in that 215, 225 range? But with all of that being said, let's just use 200,000 petitions that USCIS will receive to do some forecasting for revenue. As you're aware of, or some of you who may not be, the filing fee is $10 per filing fee for the individual. The individual can have multiple employers submit that $10 filing fee on their behalf. So for revenue calculations sake, let's say that there are 200,000, applications received, petitions received via electronic filing, $10 per filing. So that's $2 million in revenue for USCIS just for opening their electronic portal for submissions. That's a pretty significant number. I mean, $2 million here for just opening their electronic portal for individual electronic filing submissions. And, as been widely reported, USCIS very proudly stated that they saved around $2 million in return postage fees for rejected lottery petitions by moving to electronic filings last year. Think about that. So not only are they creating, last year was 2.75 million in revenue from the electronic filings, but they're saving around 3 million. At least that was my understanding. That's a pretty big net number if you think about that. So listen, all this to say that the H1B lottery, is infamous for a reason. Right now we have random selection, and those individuals that go in between now and March 25th, will be notified by April 1st electronically if they were selected and awarded. And then the employer will need to prepare the full petition in order to submit that to USCIS for approval. My experience has generally been the return rate rejections was typically around 50%. And what I mean by that is it felt like 1 out of every 2 cases that I filed were selected. There were definitely some years where the percentages were higher, 60, 65, 70%, and even lower in that 30 to 40% range. But I will tell you that doing this for several years in a row, it really never seemed to matter whether we filed a lot in one year or only a handful in another year. More or less, the return rate was always around 50%. And I think a lot of that goes back to, when we were sponsoring, we really didn't have individuals who were being sponsored by multiple employers. They generally were already working for us in a different status, or it was somebody that was we were aware of offshore and needed to bring here, on an H because of their unique skill. So, as I mentioned earlier, last year USCIS received around, as has been reported, 275,000 petitions for 85,000 visas, 65 and 20, right? If we remember, in terms of the way those numbers are broken up. I've talked about this, the calculations, a probability of around 31% of being awarded. So, I think it comes back to the thousands of petitions that some employers are filing versus the handful that other employers are filing. And how do we bring fairness and balance around who wins, right? And I don't think random selection is the right way. I'm a proponent of wage-based, but I can understand how that would eliminate level 1 type resources, level 2 type resources who maybe are specialized and can only work on an H1B. I'm thinking kind of the OPT, EAD, OPT, EAD STEM cycles, where those individuals are maybe making $65,000 to $75,000 annually, depending upon their MSA and the area where they work. So again, it just is a matter of the percentages and the cost. If I'm an employer right now and I know that, listen, for $10, I can get something that is so valuable, meaning being awarded an H1B visa for an individual that I need to hire, the value of the H1B visa continues to climb. We are going to see employers lining up to submit thousands of new H1B petitions for fiscal year 2022. And why is that? I mean, I think there are a lot of reasons, but mainly which it comes back to, 2.7% unemployment in computer occupations. That number lowers when you add mathematical occupations to it. So the question has to be asked, and that is quite frankly this: how can USCIS allow the H1B lottery to take place when there is a current ban on H1B visas at US consulates around the world? The only stipulation to that ban is that unless the company was named in the lawsuit and the individual can qualify for a national interest exception waiver, and they have to be able to get a consulate appointment. So right now you're holding an H1B lottery where any employer in the US can sponsor someone who qualifies for a specialty occupation. But if they weren't in the lawsuit, or if they don't qualify for the NIE, or the consulate isn't giving out appointments, and that H1B award winner is located outside of the US, they may not be able to get in the country this year. And that's on or after October 1st. So to me, it's a big problem. And it just sort of leads me to believe that President Biden is going to allow Presidential Proclamation 10,052 to expire on March 31st of 2021. Although the caveat, and as I've said, the other two options that we've talked about is that he could extend it until the end of June, or he could issue a new presidential proclamation and revoke it completely. So I think the next 3 weeks are going to be very telling in regards to 4 specific things. One, the total number of new H-1B visas that are going to be requested by employers. I can't wait to see the data on these numbers. 2, once we know those numbers, then we'll be able to get a good idea of the revenue stream created for USCIS from the H-1B lottery for fiscal year 2022 from that $10 filing fee. And then 3, we'll be able to calculate kind of an overall probability of being selected, just merging both pools of H-1B visas, just coming up and using the 85,000 number. And that'll give us an idea of what the percentage is like for an individual to be selected. And then last, by the end of the month, will Presidential Proclamation 10,052 expire? Will it be extended, or before that, will it be revoked? So there is a lot going on and a lot to be excited about. I know right before I came on, there was some chatter about some things possibly being in the works, some news that was breaking. It looks like the ban possibly could be lifted as being reported here. So I'll just bring this up. Looks like Kyle's saying that students who studied in the U.S. should be given priority. Absolutely. I'm a supporter of the PhD, for H's, and then for the EB based preferences, that language in USCA 21. Biden's removed the ban. So is there a new proclamation that was announced? Is it on whitehouse.gov? I haven't seen it. Kyle, do you have a link you can share? I'd love to go out and talk about that today. Yeah, I mean, of course, I support an increase in the H-1B lottery numbers for master's students. There's been a lot of discussion around, do H-1B numbers need to be increased? And for me, what I come back to is I think the numbers are backwards, honestly. And what I mean by that is I think that if we were to look at, 65,000 that would be in advanced U.S. degree categories and 20,000 in international, there'd be such an uproar about it. But what would that do, Kyle? And that is, it would create, the cycle, right, that we talk about. But what it does is it would help with the countries as well, right? So folks that, are from all over the world that come here to get a U.S. advanced degree, who then, can go that OPT, EAD, OPT, EAD STEM route, and then into the H-1B process, right? But the issue is still comes back to the country of origin. Yeah. So Kyle, you're talking about public charge. Yeah, I didn't think I saw the PP 1052 was broken out, but I'm not surprised here on this public charge. Again, it still goes back to the H-1B misconception that is out there. As I've talked about in the last few weeks, I've had folks from all over the world reach out to me. Okay. And it isn't just STEM. Okay. I'm talking about a soccer coach from the UK that's looking to come here. Okay. And can't get in. I'm talking about a research scientist from Brazil that has an exception letter, but employer was not named in the lawsuit, can't get in. I'm talking about family and friends that are separated because their employer, not named in the lawsuit, they traveled pre-COVID, have been outside of the US for over 12 months now. I know a few folks that left in February have not been able to get back in. Wife and kids here, assets here, job here, they're in outside the US. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that ban is a big problem. And here we are today, March 9th, 2021. USCIS is taking new lottery cases for H1B visas. And you can't currently get in the country on an H1B visa unless you qualify for the NIE. And how messed up is that? It really, to me, is pretty crazy. So yeah, what about non-STEM? Listen, I think, Kyle, what I'll tell you, and when I launched this channel, and my background is STEM. In some cases, I've been criticized for being a big STEM advocate and not non-STEM. But I'll tell you, when I had the opportunity to um, connect and really get to know Christine Migalajuk, who I've had on this channel, who is a huge merit-based immigration points-based system advocate. She is a non-STEM L in a managerial. And, the thing is about her is you're talking about a Harvard graduate who could not get a work visa here in the US because non-STEM. And so I use that as a point of reference. And I'll use biomedical as another point of reference. And that is, those are non-STEM. And that has to change. And so it's really just kind of recategorizing what is considered STEM. I think you're going to see more of a broader stroke, Kyle, in terms of what is going to be considered STEM. I think that they probably are going to widen it. I don't know if we'll see that immediately, but my thoughts are that we'll see it sometime pretty soon. So but thanks for jumping in here today, Kyle. Really appreciate that, and no problem. Glad I could answer your questions. Looks like you got a couple more. I do want to ask anyone who's out there, if you're currently watching, if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube. I get asked a lot, like, hey, how can I support you? And there's a handful of ways that you can help support the H1B Guy platform. Not just necessarily the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube, but just my platform in general. So the ways that you can support this channel, first and foremost, are just liking and subscribing to my videos. Sharing them is another big thing. YouTube loves that. Of course, in the live stream, super chats are open. I don't want to, beat you guys up and say, give me a super chat sticker, but that is a way that you can help support this channel and the platform. I also have set up a buy me a coffee. So it's buymeacoffee.com/the H1B Guy. If you like what I do and you want to help support, me increasing the technology behind the channel. Everything that you see here on this channel is me. I don't send any videos off to be produced or edited. All of the graphics, other than I had some of my friends when I first started help me create the logo, but all the graphics and everything that you see is me. I've learned to do this in the last year. But it goes back to, I grew up with technology. And so this is stuff that I enjoy doing and figuring out. But the website is another way that you can support me. Check out my blog post when I get done here today with the live stream. I'll be posting just a little bit of the intro that I covered here earlier today on the h1bguy.com. That's another way that you can support me and what we do here on this channel. Follow me on Twitter if you're not already. I'm getting very close to 2,000 followers on Twitter, which when I first created that Twitter account, I don't know if I knew I was going to get 20 or 200. And here I am crossing, ever so closer to 2,000. I remember I'd had my Twitter account for a little bit, and there was I'd have to go back. It was so long ago now, but somebody was like, let's get the H1B guy to 100 followers on Twitter, and here I am coming up on 2,000. So I'd like to think I've created my own little unique voice on Twitter. I love engaging. A lot of people reach out and ask me questions on Twitter, want to know my opinion, and I'm more than willing to give it. You may not agree with it, but I also have a Telegram group, the H1B Guy channel on Telegram, and a podcast, the H1B Guy podcast, which you can connect with on all of your podcast platforms. So get back to you here, Kyle. So Ivy League Masters guys should be given H1B. What do you think? I mean, again, I don't necessarily want to differentiate, right? The issue, meaning Ivy League versus a traditional state school, I want to be careful with that. I just use that as a point of reference to say that even a Harvard grad can't apply for certain work visas because they're not within a specialty occupation category. That goes back to why we are huge proponents of a merit-based points immigration system, because degree from the university or type is factored into the overall points, versus saying, hey, if you don't have a STEM degree, the master's degree, and you're not performing a specialty occupation based on the SIC code job category, then you can't get an employment-based temporary work visa, i.e. an H1B. I think that's a slippery slope, and it goes back to, instead of saying Ivy League grads should get H1Bs, we just need to say, let's scrap it and let's do a merit-based system and reward you based on the overall merit, degree included as part of that. Yeah, I think, again, the Ivy League non-STEM, you're eligible for OPT, but to extend it past that is the issue, right? You get 12 months. And I think a lot of folks have had problems with that. So one last question. Sorry for so many questions. What are the chances, in your opinion, for a master's student to get selected in the 2022 lottery? Okay, so we'll do a little fuzzy math here. Let me pull up the calculator, and let's just say there are. So I'm estimating 200,000. Let's say of those 200,000, 70,000 are master's degree, advanced degree US. That number might be kind of high. Maybe it's closer to 60. But let's say it's 70,000, right? So again, 20,000 issued, 70,000 applicants, you're at 28.5%, 29%, which is interesting. So let's say that instead of 70, that number is 60, right? 60,000, maybe that's even high. That's 33%. So what's interesting about those two numbers, Kyle, is last year 275,000 applicants for 85,000 slots gave us 31% probability. Here in the scenario for you, which you're saying a US master's degree student, H1B lottery, and I'm estimating either 60 or 70,000, that maybe that number is really high for the advanced degree pool. Again, that's anywhere between 29 to 33%. And let's say that 70,000 is really high and 60,000 is still high. Let's say that there are 40,000, right? So now you have a 50-50 shot, right? So you can kind of scale up and down from there. But I think we're still going to see relatively high numbers because there are folks that have been on OPT. There are folks in other statuses who are looking for H1B, specifically H4s that have been experiencing these massive delays, that employers have said, you know what, I'm just going to get you your own H1B instead of worrying about you being tied to your dependent's H1. I think, right now it's anybody's guess what these numbers look like. I haven't seen anyone else really doing any forecasts or predictions on it because I don't think anybody really knows what to think about it. I think a lot of folks are really unsure about uh, what to expect. So, just want to ask you again, if you're watching, please like this video, subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube. I'd love to take some questions or comments around your lottery experience. If there's anyone that's currently wanting to share their story. Kyle, how many times have you been submitted into the lottery? Do you have any failed attempts? If you're still watching, I'd be curious to know that. I know of some folks that went through a lot of failed attempts. I actually had somebody that worked for us. This was several years ago, and this is what's crazy about how folks fight to stay in status here in the U.S. She was an H4. This was before there were H4 EADs. She was an H4. Really, really good, what I'd call UI developer. This is back when JavaScript, I'm not going to say relatively new, but it was before all of the advanced sort of JavaScript libraries came out, Angular being kind of probably the most popular. But so she was on an H4, couldn't work, decided that, you know what, I'm going to try to find somebody who's going to sponsor me on H4. It ended up failed lottery first attempt, decided that I'm going to go to school while I'm here and not doing anything. Graduated, then went under OPT, got a computer science degree, master's in computer science. And literally it was like the fourth time, I believe it was like the second or third attempt in STEM, that she was awarded. And that's what's so crazy about that. And what you've got to think about too is back then, what's so different now is back then, you were still preparing those legal filing fees. The legal fees were still being paid, and I'm sure they are to an extent, but I can't imagine it's the full petition price. I don't know that. I'm making some speculation here, but I know a lot of folks that spent 2, 3, 4 years waiting to get selected. That advanced degree pool is very competitive. And, again, you're talking about 20,000. I've seen folks talk about increasing, those numbers, doubling those numbers to mirror. So now you're talking about increasing the advanced category by 40, 45K, 130 H1s a year. That seems high to me right now. But again, you got a lot of folks out there using 275 versus 85 and the supply and demand shortage. So, yeah, that's Grogu from The Mandalorian. Kyle, I don't know if you've watched that on Disney Plus, but I was a big fan of season 1. Thought season 2 was great. I'm a closet Disney guy. I've talked about it a little bit, but the Disney parks specifically are my my closet weakness when it comes to YouTube. A lot of what I do here on this channel, I was inspired by from watching Disney parks news on a lot of different channels. I haven't talked about that before, but yeah, that's Disney is a big part of my day to day. When I'm creating content, usually streaming in the background, and YouTube is some sort of Disney parks news or talking head stuff. And that's where a lot of inspiration from this channel and what I do here is come from. Again, I'm a one-man band, as I've talked about earlier. All of this live streaming, creating the SEO for my website and for YouTube, has been trial and error by me. And what's interesting about YouTube and Google, right? You hear all these facts out there that talk about they are the two largest search engines in the world, Google one, YouTube two. And, for me, when I was like, wow, am I going to put myself out there on YouTube, kind of going back and forth with it? And then I look at, some of the folks and channels that I follow that report on Disney news, and I said, just go for it. I don't watch other immigration channels. I probably should. A lot of you have talked about some of the other channels that you like and some of the stuff that they do. I'm just trying to be me and get my content to the quality that keeps you all coming back. I look at it today and I have, 1,152 customers here on this channel. My website for the month of February, was 2,000 hits. So you folks are liking what I'm doing, and I'm just going to continue to try to get better and provide more quality for you, stuff that is interesting to you. But again, today is a big day, and it's a big day for a lot of companies. It's a big day for a lot of attorneys. It's a big day for a lot of individuals. It's a big day for USCIS and the federal government. Again, $2 million minimum, right? If they get 200,000 petitions, electronic filings, that's $2 million, right? So it's a lot of money involved in this. The value of the H1B visa has never been higher. I think it's only going to continue to climb. You're going to see, as their return to work starts to happen, the demand for onshore-based talent's only going to increase. Yeah, I get it. I think rightly so to be nervous when, you're talking about your out-of-pocket costs to come here to go to school in the US, right? You ultimately want to extend that. I get it. Especially if you're only on an OPT EAD and you've only been able to get 12 months of salary under your belt if you've already graduated. I think that's one of the things, though, that when I talk to international students, and there's a lot of other folks who know a lot more about this, but to me, what you need to understand is that once you come here to the US to get your master's, you can get your OPT EAD. If you have a non-STEM degree, you've got 12 months. And I think that a lot of times that's where a mark is missed, is that if you're in non-STEM or you can't qualify for a specialty occupation, you've invested $40,000 in this advanced U.S. master's degree, and you've only been able to work for a year making $75,000. That isn't going to pay back the expenses that you incurred over those 2 years and that time and money. So you've got to factor that all in. As anyone who may be watching this out there in the future is thinking about coming to the U.S. and what is this H1B Lottery fiscal year 2022 special edition supposed to mean? It means that right now, this is year 2 of electronic filing for random selection. There's 85,000 visas going to be awarded by April 1st. Winners are going to be notified. 65,000 for foreign bachelor's degrees, minimum of 5 years of experience. 20,000 for advanced U.S. degrees and a minimum of 3 years experience. So again, a lot at stake. Today's a very big day. Just wanted to ask you again, anyone who's out there, if you have any questions or comments for me. I got a few more minutes. I wanted to go about 45 minutes here today. So we're coming up on the 40-minute mark. I just want to ask you again to like this video, subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube. Again, as I mentioned, if you're looking for ways to support this channel, again, liking and subscribing, super chats, super stickers are open. I have a buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/the H1B Guy. Check out my website, the H1bguy.com. So those are things that you can do to help support what I do here on this platform. If you're an individual who needs some help and I can help you solve maybe a difficult or challenging problem that you're having right now, please contact me through my website. You can WhatsApp me. I'd love to hear from you. So wanted to go ahead and do the copy read real quick. And that's just to remind everyone that today's live stream was brought to you by RecruiterNetworks.com, the smart solution for digital perm ads since 2001. This national job board network provides recruitment websites in 1,024 major U.S. metro areas. Each local job board is its own portal and is a low-cost resource for immigration recruitment ads for all industries and professions with a flat price of $225 per ad, regardless of which city you choose. RecruiterNetworks.com has been the #1 place for immigration attorneys, immigration ad agencies, and employers to meet the DOL requirements for the digital portion of the perm advertisement rules. RecruiterNetworks.com. Tell them the H1B guy sent you. Well, just wanted to thank Kyle. Appreciate you checking out the channel and all your questions today. And just wanted everyone else to know that, again, there's a lot that I'm working on here. You're going to see some really big things from me over the next few months, and just going to keep going. I'm really excited. On March 17th, I'm going to be presenting to the COO Forum of Atlanta, doing a presentation on H1Bs for COOs. And as I've talked about a good bit today, I'll be presenting on why the value of the H1B visa has never been higher. And really excited about that. I'm actually co-presenting. And really looking forward to what's going to come from that. It looks like the attendance is already, the RSVP list is pretty big. Also, I've mentioned this, and I'll put this out there, but I was interviewed for the Ivy podcast by my friend Angela Alberti. That should be coming out, I believe, in the next week or so. They have a YouTube channel and can be found on your favorite podcast platforms. So, but I'll get all of that out once it comes up. Just want to thank everyone who took the time to join in here today. Appreciate you popping in. I know this is earlier than I typically do streams, but what I wanted to do is do a special edition, come on live right when the electronic filing opened for the H1B Lottery portal, and we'll try to make this a tradition going forward. Of course, I'll stay on top of the H1B Lottery selection process, as it looks like the Biden administration has between now and the end of the year to make a decision on what they want to do. So ask you one more time to like this video, subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube, click the bell for notifications so that you're notified anytime we go live with new content here to this channel. If you've made it this far, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to watch my video and supporting me. I really appreciate it. The H1B Guy, your global source for all things H1B.